let's see. We have liftoff. Yes! Hey guys, it's Handy Jeff, and I'm here at a client's house, and well, we have the dreaded Whirlpool water heater with the left-hand thread thermocouple. So, we're gonna try to MacGyver a way to fix it using a normal thermocouple, because you can't buy the left-hand thread anymore. So instead of replacing the water heater, I think we're gonna have a better chance if we can fix it this way. We've got an idea, let's see if it'll work, but first we gotta take the whole thing apart, so follow along. Okay, if you've never taken apart a water heater burner assembly, first thing you're gonna do is find your gas valve, which this is the gas valve. Shut the gas off to your appliance so that we're safe. Then what we're gonna do here is we have to remove the thermocouple, we have to remove the gas burner line, this is the pilot line, and then we also have to remove the igniter line. Obviously these are no longer made, but because this is a left-hand thread right there, Whirlpool got the crap suit out of them back in the day because they wanted to be able to sell you a normal thermocouple for a couple $100. And so they made it much more difficult than it needs to be. The problem is you can no longer find these. They are obsolete. Even the internet, I've looked all over, can't seem to find them. So let's go ahead and take this thing apart. What we're gonna do here is remove our wire from our igniter, and then we just have to go ahead and remove these 3 different tubes here. In order to do that, you can use, a wrench like these, which if you need one, I'll leave a link down in the description. But the only thing that is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, or excuse me, the only thing that is not lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, like a normal item would be, is the thermocouple side. So let's remove our pilot assembly here, which, let's see if I can get this wrench to work. Normally I don't have this much trouble. Another thing you can use is a pair of these knipex pliers, which I always keep in my bag. I'm a big fan of these. They make taking things off a little bit quicker because they have a little adjustment to them. I was gonna show you the cheap way, but you know what? Sometimes a professional tool is better for a professional job. Now these just slide out of the way. Now we are on to the thermocouple, which chances are going to be the culprit. The reason I think that it is because the pilot light won't stay lit. In case you didn't know how to tell if it's a thermocouple or not. This just feels wrong, but hey, there we've got it. So now we have 2 different nuts we need to take off here, 2 different screws. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that real fast. Now this whole assembly just comes out. And here is our thermocouple, which unfortunately it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to save, because I've already taken this apart once and cleaned it in an attempt to. So now we have to remove the thermocouple. There are a few different styles of thermocouple. This is just a push connect. So in theory, it should just slide right out. I'm gonna have to set you down so I can use 2 hands. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling on the thermocouple itself. And there, it has been removed. Now we're gonna go ahead. Oop, sorry guys. All right, so now that that's been removed, we're just gonna go ahead and remove the rest of the way here, which seems there's a gasket here that needs to be taken apart in order to get it out. To remove said gasket, handy dandy screwdriver, a little bit of leverage, Ooh, be careful. That's sharp. Try not to stab yourself. And as you can see, slowly coming out. All right. Now that that's removed, this will actually push out on the other side here, which, remember the igniter and then the thermocouple here. So we're gonna go ahead, push that out. Comes out in 2 pieces. Now we can go ahead and snake our thermocouple out of this bad boy. Since this is the broken one, you don't really have to worry about saving anything, but find a way that you can get said thermocouple out of the door. All right, so we've got a new thermocouple and we've got the old thermocouple with the left-hand threads here. So here's my idea. I'm gonna use a Dremel tool to cut a notch in this, slide it off, and then hopefully be able to slide it back on to this little guy here. If that works, in theory, it should still screw on and we should be able to replace it. So this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna throw it into a vise, right there, and grind away. All right, so I just used a pair of wire cutters or aviation snips to go ahead and remove that so I didn't have to deal with it. Now we're gonna try to grind a little slit into this so that it will slide over the new thermocouple. Okay, so I've went ahead and attached this in a way that I've got an entire flat part right there. Now, what I'm gonna do is use a Dremel tool with a cutting wheel, come through, just chop this off as good as I can. I'm gonna try to find a spot where you can see what I'm doing because I don't have a tripod. This might be a little bit more difficult than expected. All right, when in doubt, use a toolbox so that you can see what's going on. All right, well, here goes nothing. We're gonna start slow. All right, it appears we are all the way through. Let me bring you down here so you can take a look. So you can see that I've cut a notch all the way through it. The problem is that notch isn't big enough, so we're gonna open it up the rest of the way using our Dremel tool once again. All right, so we must be getting kind of close here, but what we're gonna do is just try to slide the old thermocouple in the side there, which as you can see, we're not quite there yet, and that's okay. We're just gonna go ahead and keep opening it up. Now, as you can tell, it's getting heated up. So what I'm gonna do is actually wait a little bit. I don't wanna risk melting the fitting or the threads. So I'm just gonna hang out for a minute, let this cool, and then come back to it. All right, she's cooled down. So let's continue this adventure. Would you look at that? Looks like we can fit the thermocouple into the nut. So we're gonna go ahead and pull off the old the new thermocouple while this cools down. Cause yeah, she's warm. Woo, she's warm. Okay, so this thermocouple here, I got a long one. I got a 36 incher. I mean, I'm not gonna need, or a 30 incher. I'm not gonna need that. But what I do need is this little guy to be straightened out enough to run the old nut down, because we are obviously not going to need it. So let's hope that this works, because man, this is a lot cheaper than having to replace a water heater. Okay, it's cooled down. So what we have here is just our old nut that has a hole cut into it, right? And what we're going to do is just slide this on, just like this. And in theory, we will still be able to thread left-handed into the actual thermocouple spot on the gas valve. So we're going to put that down. We're going to go ahead and restring this thermocouple up into our gas burner assembly. It may or may not fit. This one I actually probably could get away with it, but I have a push type, so I'm going to go ahead and push this little guy out and then replace it with the one that came with the new thermocouple. And the way that it comes out of there, if I can get this to focus, you'll see that there's a tab here and there's a tab on the other side. I'm just going to bring in a pair of pliers, squeeze and push down, and then push it out. In order to put the new little insert in, I have to go ahead and unscrew this bad boy, which is going to give me access to the plate below it. All right, so the next step then, once again, is to take this little insert, which be careful when you're bending this pilot assembly, because we don't want to bend the actual, we don't want to put a kink in the, basically in the hose. We might be better off just moving this whole thing back. Okay, there we go. Okay. So now we just put our insert, which doesn't want to work with me either, in right here. This is what's going to actually hold the thermocouple. Pair of little pliers here, little needle nose. Normally I'm pretty good at this, although I've never had to do this particular thing to upgrade a thermocouple so that it'll work. So this still is very much in the experimental stage. All right, we'll push this through and you'll hear a click once you get the holder pushed all the way in. And now we can route our thermocouple back in here, which it'll just push in, just like this. And now what we need to do is essentially we have to re-screw our assembly back in here. So we're going to push this up to where our two holes meet right there, our screw hole. And then we got to find our screw. Reattach that like so. All right. Now we have our thermocouple, which we need to completely unwind here in order to go ahead and shove it through. But you can route this really any way that you want. Just try not to kink it. So we're just going to go ahead and go through where our old gasket was there, and then we'll straighten it out. And I'll probably roll it around a couple times once we get it out and around where it needs to be. But now we just got to put our gasket back, which, remember, our gasket held our thermocouple at the bottom and our ignition wire at the top here. And it's clear. There's only two places that things can go. It is also worth noting there are a couple different sizes here, so you got to make sure the sizes match up. That'd probably make my life a whole heck of a lot easier. There we go. Now we must reinstall our clip, which just goes on as a retainer. Sometimes it just needs a little love. There we go. Now we just have to reinstall our burner assembly with the new thermocouple and using our modified little washer or screw nut here. All right. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to start by putting our screws back in the actual assembly first, which getting those started might be a little bit easier said than done. You have to manipulate things and You know, obviously I've got a pump for the furnace right here, so they're not making anything too easy on me. It is important to get these tight because this is what is creating a seal for that gas chamber where you're actually going to be igniting the fuel, which is going to heat your water. All right. So now we're just going to lather, rinse, repeat what we did to get here. So we're going to install our main burner feed first, then tighten her down. It's important to get these good and tight because remember, this is natural gas. So we're snugging it down pretty well. Now our pilot feed, which once again, taking care to not kink it or anything like that. Yes, I know this is the wrong way for using channel locks, but it's the only way I could sneak in there. Okay, now the moment of truth here. I'm just gonna tighten that. Oh yeah, it's gonna slide on. You know, shout out to the deep Reddit threads on this one, just because I had no idea what I was gonna do for this, or other than replace the water heater itself, but looks like we're gonna be safe. So our thermocouple goes up in there. We just gotta get it so that it'll go straight. We slide her on, make sure that everything is looking the way that it should. And then the important thing is to get it so that it will thread in straight, which I can already tell is going to be a battle. I'm going to take care to not squeeze too tightly while I am tightening this. But once again, left hand threads. Once it gets started, it seems like it's going to want to go a little easier. All right, she's in there tight. Let's go ahead and turn our gas back on. Hook our igniter wire back up. That just plugs in just like this. Set to pilot. And let's see if we can get a flame. Which I don't think you're going to be able to see, but I've got a flame going right there. I'm going to go ahead and let this run for a minute before I let go. Guys, I let go of the thermocouple, or I let go of the pilot. Let's see. We have liftoff. Yes! Yes! That is so much cheaper than replacing an entire water heater. So that was, I don't know, probably 20 bucks. Whereas a new water heater, just the water heater itself, $6.50, you know? So hey, if you guys learned something today, then give me a like and subscribe. And if I saved you, leave a comment down below because this is insane and I'm so glad that it worked. Wow, I'm impressed. But hey, this has been Handy Jeff, and if you like stuff like this, hit that subscribe button. And I'd love to see you in another video. Thank you so much, so much for watching. I'm so happy right now.